Since March, members of the public were asked to refrain from using public transportation to get around. But by the end of the month, the public bus system was officially suspended as Grenada entered a state of emergency. Minister of Transport Gregory Bowen says before arrangements are made to restart the sector, various groups and sectors need to collaborate to come up with a comprehensive plan. He notes that it is a strain and stretch to get things in place, but they are working on it as public transportation is vital to getting the economy going.
And it has to be done economically, health-wise, and together with the people, the transport people, the construction people. And when you reopen the bus route, now it's retail and everybody will be traveling. That's a fearful thought, and we have to give it tremendous consideration.
The urgency of getting buses back on the roads was once again brought to the fore with the announcement that the construction industry can resume this week.
Right now, before the initialization of resumption for the public transport, it is the responsibility of the contractor to get the workers to site. Yeah? And we know that in itself would sort of limit, right, the rate of which construction will open, or any business for that matter. And we are working very, very assiduously on the reopening of the transport sector. So you remember this ministry has the responsibility for transport as well. So we are working with the COVID committee. And we are looking there at maybe next, the Prime Minister hinted at it, maybe next couple of weeks, maybe before. But we want to ensure that when the transport is open, the risk is reduced to zero.
Government has slowly been easing state of emergency regulations with the aim of revitalizing the economy. But Minister Bowen reiterates that the aim is to do so safely in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Remember, in the closed environment, one asymptomatic person, that is, you don't know, he or she doesn't know. They come on the bus, and in this environment, you know, if we have 6 people on the bus, then it can explode. In addition to this, we must step up, and testing is extremely expensive and difficult. We have to test people with respect to the construction sector, and don't talk about when you go on the bus. The Ministry of Health is coming up with a program of how do we test people by sampling them. Then you take one person out of every 4 trips buses, and you just simply must test and must continue to test. If we do the test and over a 4 weeks period, we see that, you know, we have no further incident of infection, then we'll be extremely happy.
Blossom Alexis Welsh, GBN News.
Canadian national Faye Hisco and her husband are stuck in Grenada. They arrived on the island on March 22nd, just around the time the country was placed on lockdown. She lives aboard their yacht docked in Grenadian waters. Faye explained the process they went through since being here, saying she is impressed with the way things were handled regarding COVID-19.
Here since March 22nd with the lockdown, basically. To start off with, we had to quarantine for the 2 weeks because we arrived right when that happened, so we weren't not off the boat for 2 weeks. I'm extremely thrilled with the way this country has handled it, everything related to this versus our own country at home. The one time, I guess, when we were only allowed to go shopping for the one day, that was very difficult because the lineups were like 6 hours long. But since that, when they went Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I think they've done an extremely great job at allowing us to do essentials.
Being faced with this pandemic, Faye says it was very difficult for her to adjust. However, it has taught her a few things as she looks forward to returning to her country, Canada, as soon as the borders are opened up once again.
How important it is to maintain relationships, because when it's taken away from you, you really realize it. Just the importance of understanding that something somewhere else in the world can spread so quickly and affect everybody in the world. So I think it's important now to pay attention to everything, everywhere.
Her home country, Canada, to date has over 40,000 active cases of the virus and surpasses over 5,000 deaths. 33,000 is believed to have recovered. The country records on average 400 to 700 new cases per day. Christelina John, GBN News.
Both plots have already been purchased. By the end of this, we will start construction next year on both, hopefully on both plots. By doing that, we would have raised the total capacity of the beds on this island by 30%.
Less than 2 years after constructing Silver Sands Hotel, Egyptian billionaire Naquib Zawari is fulfilling his promise to invest more in Grenada properties. He is the new owner of Port Louis. The news that Port Louis was sold was announced by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell during a national address on Sunday night.
We are also buoyed by the fact that in the midst of this crisis, investor confidence remains high. The recent acquisition this week of Port Louis and Mount Cinnamon, with plans to add over 500 hotel rooms in an investment worth over $350 million US, speaks volumes for the recovery potential of our economy. It is important to note, sisters and brothers, that no concessions will be given until the developer is ready to begin construction of the 4 hotels.
Confirmation about the sale of the property and its new owner was publicized on Wednesday. Port Louis Land Limited confirmed the sale of Port Louis to JDC2, owner of Silver Sands Grenada. Its investor, Zawari, the owner of Silver Sands Grenada, which opened in December 2018, is promising investment of $350 million to transform the 2 properties and creating 1,500 jobs. According to a press release issued, JDC2 intent is to construct a first-class luxury hotel at Port Louis. JDC says its objective is to establish Grenada as a leader in the luxury hospitality industry and attract new visitors to the island. Naquib Sarari, JDC chairman, said despite the challenging times, the investment plan's key focus over the coming 4 to 5 years is to increase Grenada's hotel inventory by approximately 400 to 500 rooms. According to JDC press release, master plans for the development are in varying phases of completion, with the groundbreaking of the first development on Mount Cinnamon expected to be in 18 months. Cherry and Blackman Stephen, GBN News.
It's been 2 months and counting since the 11 acres of refuse at the Perseverance landfill have been on fire. For days, officers of the fire department have been wetting the area, but efforts to totally extinguish the fire have failed. Assistant PRO at the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, Nikolai Boyk, says there are contributing factors that continue to fuel the fire.
The fire is continually fueled through a natural process, that is the degradation of the refuse and the organic material contained within the garbage. The degradation of that material produces heat and it produces methane gas along with a water fraction which we refer to as a leachate. So the gas is constantly being produced and that is what is fueling the fire. The gas is coming from underneath the putrefying refuse. The issue with the foam is that it is more effective on flat surfaces, and its ability to work would depend on the surface and how deep it could penetrate within the refuse that are on the site.
Boyk says the GSWMA, working with the RGPF's fire department, have adopted new strategies they believe should bring the fire under control. One of those measures he spoke of is the construction of a road right around the perimeter of the landfill and the installation of pipes that will allow for easy access to any area of the landfill. This, he says, is a massive undertaking.
We started with the Grenada Fire Services. We are trying the fire suppressing foam. Our team is also using our own pumps and our pipe network in order to conduct wetting in tandem with the heavy equipment that would be uncovering areas where the fire is located and conducting that soaking in order to extinguish that fire. The final step would be the movement of soil materials that would allow for the covering of the landfill. We would have to identify a good source of that material because we would need to use clay material for that purpose. So as it stands, that gas is available to continuously fuel the fire. So the wetting and the use of the foam, and when we start using the soil, would be measures that would be able to control the fire based on preventing access to the oxygen which is required for the fire to continue, and also to allow that fire to be extinguished within time. And once we could wet to the inner reaches where that fire resides within the burning landfill.
Christina John, GBN News.
Speaking on the Caribbean Tourism Organization CTO's weekly podcast, Peter Serda, the regional vice president for the Americas at the International Air Transport Association, warns that the aviation sector will emerge from the COVID-19 crisis with fewer carriers offering leaner services to fewer routes and flying smaller aircraft. And when it comes to the Caribbean, it won't be the same market. Therefore, he said regional government must prepare for this eventuality by taking the necessary steps to reduce the cost of air travel. While predicting that international travel will return to the Caribbean by next month, Serda says Caribbean economies could lose $740 million and face 23,000 job cuts if borders remain closed through to the end of June. When all of travel and tourism is considered, he says the cost to the region could reach $6.5 billion with over 350 jobs at risk, describing travel as being a free fall and the airline industry as being bare bones due to the impact of the coronavirus. The Trade Association for the World's Airlines is advising Caribbean governments to cut passenger taxes if they wish to be competitive when service is restored. For GBN News, I am Rina Pear reporting.